Ever since Volume 5 wrapped up, there's always been one question that's constantly been reoccurring on my mind. And that question is, what is going to happen to Raven moving forward? Volume 5 is pretty much where we were introduced to her character, her semblance, her standing in the world of Remnant overall. She's the leader of the Bronwyn tribe. She was a strong leader responsible for all of these people's well-being. And eventually, by the end of it, we found out that she is, in fact, the Spring Maiden. She holds a significant amount of power in the world of Remnant overall. Not just in standing and the leader of the Bronwyn tribe, but in physical power overall. And now, at the end of Volume 5, her strong stature has been essentially disgraced. Only to one person, that person being Yang. Yang exposed her as a coward. And now, moving forward, where exactly is she going to go? Now, the obvious answer would be that she's going to go just back to the Bronwyn tribe. But remember, Vernal is now dead. All of her tribe is going to recognize that, okay, you left with the group that was with Salem. You let a group barge into our camp, and you essentially were completely subservient to them. The tribe probably didn't know everything about Salem and her forces and everything. I kind of doubt Raven would have disclosed everything to them, so that probably would have been strange, especially considering when we saw Cinder's faction, like Cinder, Emerald, Mercury, Watts, all walk into the Bronwyn tribe's hideout. The tribe reacted with hostility towards them, so I'm guessing they didn't know the entire outlook of it. So all they know is that Raven took off with Vernal, her second in command, and went off with them, obeyed what they were asking, and was just like, okay, we're just gonna go. These people showed up, we need to pack up camp, leave, but they're threatening enough that she pretty much just rolled over and did what Cinder wanted. She did have a plan to take the relic from them, but that was a bad plan from the start. As Yang pointed out, think it through. You think you have a target on your back being the Spring Maiden? If you have a relic, you're completely screwed. And Raven just rolled over at that point too. She buckled and she was just took off. Now, as I said, the first choice that would probably happen is she'd go back to the Bronwyn tribe. But since I went off on that little tangent, she's going to go back without Vernal. The entire tribe's going to be wondering, so you just left Vernal to die? Because they know that, obviously, Raven is the Spring Maiden, she has magic, so they probably do know at least a little bit, but they know that Raven was using Vernal as the proxy. So they would easily put two and two together. You just let Vernal die. You didn't have the relic, you didn't bring back anything that you promised. Vernal's dead and gone. I don't know if she's going to be the leader of the Bronwyn tribe, if the tribe's going to accept her back. Yeah, she's powerful and everything, but Raven wasn't the type to lead by fear. She didn't, force people to follow her. So I don't think the tribe's actually going to follow her. Granted, if they realize the state of the situation, that, they're not going to survive on their own without her. Even with her, they're probably not going to, because, one maiden against Salem and all of her forces, not going to do much. But I don't think Raven's going to go back to the... Well, she will go back to the tribe, but I don't know if the tribe's going to accept her. Now, if the tribe does accept her, she could go on living like that and wouldn't necessarily be too relevant in the series unless she wises up and decides to fight against Salem, which is what she's going to have to do eventually. But now, Salem wants nothing to do with her. She doesn't need the Spring Maiden anymore. The relic is already found, so the Spring Maiden essentially is useless except as just a brute force now. Unless the magic can be put to some other use that we don't know of yet, but other than that, it's the relic that Salem is after, not the maidens specifically. The maidens are just a means to an end to get the relic. So Raven's pretty much in the clear from Salem, except that, she kind of killed Cinder, which Salem might want to get revenge for. Salem doesn't really seem the type to grow that attached to one of her subordinates that she would go out of her way to get revenge for. But, and that's of course assuming Cinder's dead. There's always that question, and that's something that I've made a couple videos on already, but that's a different question. But as far as Salem is concerned at this point, Cinder's dead. And Raven, now, if she doesn't go back to the Bronwyn tribe, she is also a broken character. Her will is broken, essentially. Her 18-year-old, 19-year-old now, daughter, just completely outclassed her in pretty much every way except just power. But if a person's will breaks, the amount of power that they have is pretty much worthless. Now, when Raven flew away at the end of Volume 5, she transformed into Raven, flew away, and we saw at the end of Volume 5 that it was back at Ruby and Yang's house with Tai, and there was a black feather that went down, so that is where Raven took off too. Because I'm guessing with the battle going on upstairs, no one would have noticed a single bird fly out of the crypt, the vault, the hole in the ground where everything was. So she got out of there, or she was still in the vault and used her portals to teleport away. And she only has, as far as I know, 3-4 options to teleport to. And those options being, because she only listed that she has Crow, Tai, and Yang as people she could teleport to, but I'm guessing there was Vernal as well in the Bronwyn tribe just so she could have an easy way to get back. But with that being the case, Vernal's also dead, so the teleporting could only give her 3 options. She went to Tai. We saw that. After this, though, is she going to reunite with Tai? Is she going to go and realize all of the mistakes that she's made throughout all of this? Eventually, I think she will. She's going to try to make amends with Yang. She's going to try to make amends with Tai. And I think she is eventually going to maybe not join Ozpin's side. And I believe I've mentioned this before, but I believe she's going to end up sacrificing herself for Yang. Maybe even RWBY, because Yang cares about RWBY, and RWBY technically means more to Yang at this point than Raven means to Yang. Yang cares about her sister more than her own mother, because her own mother, frankly, isn't really a great mother and isn't really a presence in her life at all up until this point, and you know how that all went. So, overall, Raven, she's going to have some more influence on the series overall. That's definitely going to be the case, and I hope that in Volume 6 more is addressed about her, and especially considering we got an Adam story, the volume entry little story arc where we saw his descent into madness and eventually fall from grace in the White Fang. So with Adam going to have an influence on Volume 6, I'm hoping that Raven will as well. Maybe Raven and Adam will end up joining forces in some way, shape, or form and forming some sort of bond that way. That would actually be something really interesting because they both use very similar type of weapons, and first of all, just a clash between them would be fantastic to see. They both have tremendous skill with just a regular katana-style blade, and it would just be amazing, amazing to see. Now, an alliance between those two, just those two on their own, would be able to decimate hordes of Grimm, hordes of an army, and just anything. I would love to see that, and honestly, now that I thought about that, I really hope that happens in some way, shape, or form, at least some point down the road. But I just have a feeling that the Bronwyn tribe itself is not going to be very relevant, and that they may not accept Raven back. And although I don't think Raven's going to join Ozpin's faction, she's not going to be living to the end of the series, but she will end up fighting against Salem, and at least going against Salem's will at some point. She's not just going to end up having to run. That's what, and from a storytelling perspective, that's how you set up a character like this. You set them up as someone who has flaws. That's how you set up a character. And the point of setting up those flaws is for them to eventually push past them. Now, Raven having her will being broken and acting the way she did, abandoning her daughter for her own self-interest and self-preservation, it gives her a lot of room to grow, and it's going to give her a chance to become a mother. And as I said, she's not going to live to the end of the series. I don't see that happening. It might, but I don't really see it. But I would like to see as well, at some point, that Tai, Yang, and Raven actually have a bit of a chance, even if it's just one episode or 5 minutes of an episode or something, but have a chance to be a family. Because that's something that in the RWBY series overall, we have not seen. We have not actually seen a family unit just be a family. I mean, yeah, maybe in Ren's backstory, but that didn't end that great. And yes, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, this won't end that great either, with Raven ending up sacrificing herself. Maybe Ty as well, because Ty's going to play a role in the series as well. His semblance is going to have to be a thing. Something's going to happen with Ty. No idea what it's going to be, but overall, there's a lot of things I would like to see with Raven, and I believe her fate is nothing too pleasant overall. And there's a lot of things that I want to happen, and I'm interested to see, or at least interested to hear, what you guys think about what you would like to happen with Raven. What you think is going to be her fate in the series overall, how she's going to be handled in Volume 6, how everything's going to turn out with her. Do you think the Bronwyn tribe's going to take her back after just leaving Vernal dead in the crypt? Because she didn't even try to retrieve Vernal's body or anything. Cinder was gone, and it was just her and Yang down there with Vernal's body, and she just turned into a bird and flew away. A lot of respect she's showing for her comrade who supported her to the point at which she put a target on her own back by acting as a maiden. And she just leaves her. Leaves her in the bottom of this tomb. And Yang kind of left her down there too. So there's always going to be the fact that by the end of the RWBY series, Vernal's body's just going to be left in that vault, because now that the relic is gone from down there, there is absolutely no purpose for anyone to go down into there. So, yeah. If the Bronwyn tribe realizes that, they're not taking Raven back, because they won't be able to trust that she's going to put them first, because she puts herself first. That's the way it's always been, but she puts on an air of power and just boasts that she is able to protect them all. So, I know I've rambled a lot in this video, but there's just so much to talk about with Raven, and so many things that could happen, and just I'm hoping will happen, and also thinking will happen. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts on the idea, on Raven, on how she's going to deal with her family, whether she's going to turn against Salem. I doubt she's going to join Ozpin, but, you know, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.